Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Bound by Grace, where faith meets real life relationships. Today's episode is one you won't want to miss, especially if you're a man seeking to build a Christ centered foundation before saying, I do. We're diving into Preparing for Marriage, Men's Edition, a candid and empowering conversation designed to challenge, equip, and inspire men to step into marriage with intentionality, integrity, and spiritual strength. Joining me is a powerhouse guest, Dennis Porterfield, motivational speaker and host of the From the Battle to the Glory podcast. Dennis brings raw wisdom, biblical insight, and personal experience to the table as we unpack what it truly means to lead, love, and prepare as a godly man in today's world. From emotional readiness and spiritual maturity to practical leadership and sacrificial love. This episode is packed with truth that will sharpen your vision and stir your heart. Whether you're engaged, dating, or simply preparing for the future, this conversation will help you rise to the calling of Christlike husbandhood. Let's get into it. So how are you doing today? I'm so happy you're on.
I'm blessed and highly favored.
I like it. So we didn't prepare any questions. We're just doing it on the fly. We want it to be raw. We want it to be real and genuine. So, in your opinion, how can a man prepare for marriage? What does that look like?
Well, let's start here. The first thing is the most important, and that's having a relationship with Christ. The
Thank
reason
you.
why it is because he is the director and the order of your steps, and he teaches you in the word how to be a humble, a peaceful man. It
Mhm.
comes with a great responsibility. And so it's obedience, being real obedience to the word of God, regardless of what somebody may say. But when you really actually have that relationship, that's closeness, that intimacy with God, you'll understand how it is to love. And so that's the beginning part of it, learning how
Yes.
to love, having the unconditional love to an individual that you're going to share the rest of your life with. It comes with great obstacles because guess what? We always battle with the flesh, and the flesh comes from a desire that as time grows on, what you put into your heart. And that's why God should be the center of your relationship. And as you have God ordering your steps, guess what? Your relationship with people and then your future wife, it will have a strong foundation. It's not where you'll just get upset and then you be ready to give up. No, God has stability. God has direction for you as the individual. And so that's where it starts at right there, the relationship with Christ. And when you have a strong relationship, you'll have a strong relationship with people. And people will get, God said in his word, iron sharpens iron. So you have to be around people that's going to encourage you, that's going to pour into your life to give you help you with the direction, because God will use some people that's around in your circle to guide you, help you through the rough times, through the difficult decision making, because God will use those people that's around you, that's supposed to be around you, and help you build that foundation. It Guess what? You don't see one man building a house. It's multiple people because they have different jobs for the building of the house. And so as I say building of the house, I'm talking about that relationship, and God will put the right people so you can have a strong foundation. That's the
Yes, I
beginning.
completely agree. I cannot um I cannot make this more apparent. That's point blank period what has to be done in order to prepare yourself for almost anything in life. You have to have a strong, grounded relationship with God. Um, I think that something beautiful. So there was a man that did a video, and he was Christ centered, started dating. And what he told his people that he was dating was very interesting. So when you're in Christ and you're preparing for marriage, that means that you are not just dating to date. You're dating to marry. There's a big difference. And this guy was so fed up with all of these dates that he finally put his foot down and said, you know what? I'm not going to waste any more time. So the next lady that got into his car for a date, he looked at her and he said, where are you in your walk with God? Because I'm looking for a woman who's trying to get me to heaven. And she stepped out of his car and left. And he was like, well, that definitely took care of that. Easy peasy. She wasn't meant for me. The next woman that stepped into his car, he said the same thing. I'm looking for a woman that is going to try to get me into heaven. That's our goals together, is to get each other into heaven. In other words, holding each other accountable, helping each other grow. Does that make sense? And this,
Yes.
like, sir, you're exactly what I've been looking for. And they've been married ever since.
I
So
mean, good.
how can someone change their view on dating when marriage is the goal?
Well, guess what? Remember I said earlier, I said direction. So part of that is fasting, praying, because you have a desire as a human being, want the opposite sex, and in that, praying for the right woman for you, you have to allow God to lead you. That's why I said relationship. God has to lead you to that woman, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
be in the right place for that woman that's made out for you.
Yes.
And the key thing is this, is that I'll give you an example. So, what I did for my wife, I've been married. This is my second marriage. And in this second marriage, I said, Lord, I don't want another woman that's not really going to devote their life to Christ. I really want a
Mm-hmm.
woman that's going to seek out God's face. I really want a woman that's going to love him so much that she loves me the way she's supposed to love me. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did. I fasted, I prayed, consecrated. I just reframed for some things that I was doing in my life, because I wanted to be broken to the point where I can really hear God's voice and understand what direction He wanted me to go in. And that's the way. And so in me doing that, I was getting ready to get into a divorce. I was going through a divorce, and let me show you about God's direction. And so, in the process of me going through the divorce, my lawyer was, in court, and they didn't have all my paperwork. So the judge was like, "Leave the court," and I was getting ready to touch the door, and the judge said, "Hold on." Now, prior to that, I said, "God, if Esther is the woman for me, show me a sign." And so I was getting ready to leave the courtroom, and the judge said, "Hold on." And he was like, if I can call your ex-wife, which was Maria at the time, and she will okay the divorce, I'll grant you your divorce. Now, mind you, Maria is a teacher. She never picks the phone up on the first ring. She picks
Mm.
the phone up on the first ring. The judge swear her in. They ask her all the questions. They granted me a divorce. Now, mind you, I left the courtroom. I had already had the ring for Esther. I proposed to Esther. As soon as I got out of the courtroom, I called. We had lunch together. I proposed to her right there, because you know what? I was in a place where I wanted to make sure that I wasn't making the wrong decision, and I wanted to hear from God. And so, usually, not, let me correct that. Not usually, all the time, when you allow God to be the center and order your steps, He will give you an answer right then and there, because you're seeking out the answer for something that can change the rest of your life, that can
Mm-hmm.
alter your steps, what I'm saying, to either happiness or destruction. And so, that's how me and Esther, got married, because I really wanted to make the right decision, not because of her beauty, not because of her body, but because of her heart, her dedication to serve God. And so when I seen that, I knew that she was the one for me. But mind you, in the process of me going through the divorce, Esther didn't date me. She barely talked to me on the phone. She was like, you
Mhm.
still bound to that one. That drew me more closer to her because she said I was still bound. Now I was already separated.
She was looking out for you.
Exact. And she said, you still bound. I didn't even want to talk to you on the phone. So we didn't date. We didn't do none of that. And so we are
Mhm.
6 years in our marriage right now. And so we are dating. We're going through things right now. Not bad
Yeah.
things, but we're going through, we're learning each other.
Mhm.
And it's a process, it's a journey. But that's what it is supposed to look like. And when you allow, listen, just imagine you're being blind and you can't see. You can't even figure out what steps to make, and that's where your faith comes in truly for God. And God will he will lead you in the right path. He will lead you.
Mhm.
And so I ask people all the time, are you ready for marriage? And the reason why I ask you, because it takes work. It's
Mhm.
not something that's easy. Guess what? They're going to be good days, they're going to be bad days. And how do you get through those bad days? If you don't got God, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a road of you making a lot of mistakes, a lot of misdirection, and no answer, no answer because you're not asking Him. He said, "Knock, and He shall open the doorway for you.
Mhm.
He shall open the doorway for you." But you ain't. If you're not knocking, He not listening, and you
Yeah.
gotta have that relationship.
Um, yes, you do need to have that relationship for that reason. Uh, so do you believe in dating
Yeah, you have to.
or do you believe in courting? Because there's a big difference.
Well, I feel like dating and courting is about the same because guess what? It hold on. Now, when you say courting and then you say dating, right? Let's
Mhm.
look at that's the old times, new times.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
courting, we used to use that in the old times and in back in the day. Oh, you're gonna court my daughter. But now we live in a time where we're dating and we're dating to get to know you. There is boundaries you have to have in dating. There are boundaries you have to have in courting. So they're about the same thing. Uh, when you dating someone, there is no spending the night. There's no sex. And I know we live in a time where some people say, "Look, I gotta test drive the car." No, it's no, because now, guess what? This might be a little too deep. You got soul ties, and soul ties are
Mhm.
very real
They
because you
are a
don't.
real thing. Science freaking backs it. I'm sorry, but when women have sex with a man, and we're talking about like without a condom, um, his sperm enters in and it literally changes her DNA and it sticks with her. Um, so it is a very real thing physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Just Amber, just think about this. If people don't believe that soul ties are real, just think about this. You never, when you go into a room and the room is full of toxicity, no happiness, no joy, it's all mad. That energy, that spirit jumps on you and now it gets you irritated, gets you
Mhm.
irritable, gets you upset because that spirit. So imagine two body fluids are connecting. If that person is not right, guess what? It becomes a part of you. That's why when we
Mhm.
have children, it is important to know that spouse because guess what? You don't know what they have endured that is going to pull on your children. Your
Mhm.
personality, your character, your
Your
uh,
past trauma.
past trauma, um, a generational curse, all of that
Mhm.
is put on you and that child as well as the man because you don't know. And so that's why it's important to know that person. That's why God has
Yeah.
to be in the center of it. Because guess what? When you got God, and some people say, "Oh, I don't." Okay, that's cool. That's your thing. But when you got God in the center of it, guess what? It weaves all of that out. Solely, it
Mhm.
weaves it out because now you're like, okay, you know what? I got to make sure he is worthy of being a father because a father comes with leadership. Are you
Yes.
worthy of being the leader? Are you worthy of being somebody that I can look up to? And I'm talking about from a woman's perspective. I can look up to you and say, I will follow you. That's why
Mm-hmm.
God has to be the foundation going into a dating to marriage, courting from to marriage. That's why it's important. You got to learn that person. And guess what? Now we talk. Let's talk about now. If you older, right? You older. Let's say you in your 30s, and you have multiple sex partners. Now you still have to renew your mind. And guess what? Those old, you have to, your flesh has to die daily, constantly. And so now those old ways, those old bad habits, you got to put away. You have to die to that. And so now when you walk in, when God, guess what? Your direction is totally different. Your move is totally different. Your
Mm-hmm.
attitude, your lens are different. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why in dating, guess what? You have to be able to see the spirit that that person is carrying. Some people don't
Yes.
have discernment. Discernment
Right.
comes with that. And so that's why
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with Christ has to be strong so you can have that discernment. And some people don't have it. Some people, have the gift. And if you have it, you have to be able to discern the spirit that that woman is carrying. If
That,
she's
but you can also, let's say you don't have the spirit of discernment. That's not your godly gift, and you struggle with that. Um, you can pray that God closes that door, doesn't make it where you continue forward if that person isn't for you, if they're not going to be the person that you need. So that's one way that you can work around discernment. But
yes,
discernment is a very important thing in your spiritual life, not just in this, but also with finding friends. Um, you really want to have the spirit of discernment. So you can pray for that. If you feel like you don't have it, pray that God gives you that, gives you those lenses, as you say. But if for some reason you're still iffy, pray that God closes that door if it's not one that's supposed to be open.
right,
And I promise you, He will. Be very, very careful and intentional with what you pray. Because if you ask for it, you better be ready for the consequences of it. And what I mean
exactly,
by that as well is you can pray that God hides you from any and all people until He has prepared the heart of the person that He wants you to be with. So you might be lonely for a little bit, but remember, you're the one that prayed it. So the woman that I had on the old other podcast, Waiting for Marriage, she prayed that prayer. And
mm-hmm.
God hid her away for 2 years. She said that she would usually get texts, she would usually get hit on. She said for 2 years straight, no texts, no phone calls, nobody hit on her. And she was like getting very, very lonely, seeing everyone else in relationships. And then she kind of complained about it, and she goes, "Wait a minute, that is what I prayed for." And then out of nowhere, 2 years later, someone came along and pursued her, and now they're together. She is still waiting for marriage, and he is respecting her boundaries. Both of them are waiting together. It's beautiful.
The one thing, we talk about how to prepare for marriage. We The one thing you have to understand, listen, if you have any brokenness in your life, you have to be healed. That's
Yeah.
number one. You have to have the healing to understand what the word is telling you at that particular time, because we all have some type of trauma in our
Mhm.
lives, some type of hurt. Somebody hurt us to the point where we like, you know what, freak this, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, you know
Mhm.
at the end of the
I did that. I went through that, and I lost my virginity because I got angry and I said, "I'm just going to get it over with. I'm mad. Like, I'm hurt, I'm mad, I'm angry. I just want to get it over with and make it not a big deal." And I can't stand that I did that to myself. So I agree. You need to heal what's broken. That means you're going to have to be real with yourself. You're going to have to
Right.
be honest with yourself. And that's going to take you sitting still and silent and letting the Spirit speak to you. Um, it's going to make you uncomfortable,
Yes.
but that's where growth comes from.
The there's three things that I say that's more important than anything going in towards a marriage for me, and for men that's looking for true marriage and true love. One thing it has to be, you have to love God unconditionally. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, you have to love yourself. Because if you could
Yes.
love yourself, you could love somebody else. And now I'm not talking about selfishness. That's not, see, selfishness is not part of loving yourself,
Mm-mm.
just being all about you. No, you have to be thoughtful. You have to have compassion, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you good, you got to look at the next person. You got to make sure they okay. You got to make, when you see them sad, you got to have compassion enough to say, "Are you all right? You need anything?" And be real about it. And so that's the second thing. The third thing is you have to. I feel like a man that's going to look for marriage, and it depends on the circumstance. They have to have a
Mm-hmm.
good relationship with their mother, their earthly mother and father. Because you know
Mm-hmm.
why? Because that is the beginning, the start of your relationship outside of your personal. Your mother and father, if you have a good relationship with them, most
Mm-hmm.
likely 9 times out of 10, you'll have a good relationship with other people. But if you, I'm not talking, there are stipulations that's out there that some people do not have a good relationship with their mother or their father. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some just regular, normal, people have a good relationship, because you can have a mother or father that's an alcoholic, do drugs. That's
Mm-hmm.
something different. I I and you, Amber, can understand that you might not have a really good relationship with them because of those problems, those issues. But if
Mm-hmm.
you just have a mother and father that have some other personal issues, but you still have a good relationship with them, you know, that's the start of having a good relationship with your future wife or husband. That's the start of it, right there. Being able to communicate with them, even in the midst of saying, "Mom, Dad, you did everything you could, and I appreciate it." I think that's great. That's the start. If not your parents, your grandparents, having that type of relationship is important too, because guess what? That's your foundation, as well as having a relationship with God. Those are your foundation, of going into a relationship with other people. Are you a people's person? Are you a person that's personal? And those are the things you got to look at, because guess what? Marriage, my wife is not like me. I'm a people's person. I'm always talking, having good time, laughing, encouraging, and doing this. My wife's not, right? And I say to her, I said, "Babe, when I'm out there speaking to people, you can't be shy. You gotta be, speaking to them." Because you know why? And I you know why I say that is because, listen, when I'm talking and I'm moving around and I'm interacting with people, and she's just sitting there, this is an experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they say? "Oh, chef, what's wrong with your wife?
Mm-hmm.
She don't like talking to nobody." And so it puts them in a place where, I guess I won't talk to her. No, you got to be open. We in this ministry, and we have to be able to navigate when you go into those spaces where you're talking to people and having a conversation. You got to get to know them, because guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That's your opportunity to minister. If not minister, evangelize to them, have a conversation with them, get to know them. And because
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Every opportunity you get, or you have a chance to speak the word of God, you should take it. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, be spirit led, of course. But just think about it. There is the enemy always have an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Always
And
have
he
an
takes those
opportunity.
opportunities.
Exactly. And so why can't we, as believers and as followers of Jesus Christ, don't take those opportunities? Because you know what? One, a person could be shy and not into just talking to people. And that shows a lot about us Christians, a lot about us believers, is being able to navigate in every circumstance, every situation. And that
I mean,
all,
if you are one of those shy people, the other route you can take is just mirror Christ. You
yeah,
can do a lot just with how you act. So I really think that that's why it's so important that we are constantly evolving our relationship with God. We're constantly trying to do better than we did yesterday. We're constantly trying to get our mind right, our thoughts positive, so that way we can mirror Him, because that's really what it's about. If you're a shy person, instead of having to be like, "Oh, have you met Jesus?" Have you know, and if that makes you nervous, just mirror Christ. Make sure that you use the power of your tongue in conversations for good.
Amber, that was good what you said. You know why? Because guess what? Me and you may know this, but most people that do not know this, that when you stand for Christ, there are a lot of people that can see it, because you know what they say? Something's different about Amber. I
They
see it.
do.
Because you
Yes.
can see the spirit of a
Yes.
person, their body language, how they talk. You were like, wait a minute,
How
something
they
ain't right about
treat you.
that too. You can see all that. And so it's amazing how, some people say don't give the enemy power. No, but guess what? He can see who he can test. Doesn't it say in the word that he seeks who he may devour?
Mhm.
He got to find you, because when
Yep.
you stand in the light, he can't see you. It's so bright. You're
Mhm.
like, oh my goodness, you blinded him. He like,
Mhm.
I can't see Amber. Where you at, Amber? Can't see you because I, I'm just think about it. It's got to be visual. That's the visual cortex of your brain,
Yeah.
and the enemy can't see that because your light is so bright that he cannot see you, and that's walking in the purpose of God for your life.
Yeah. I
And
totally agree.
that's part of when we talk about marriage. That's part of having a successful marriage,
Mhm.
having a successful relationship, because part of your marriage is having a good relationship with your wife or your
Yeah.
future wife, being able to communicate, being transparent,
Yes.
not just saying, oh, you know what, you're beautiful, you're nice to me. Okay,
Mhm.
let's get to the point where it's tough, it's rough. Now, are you still gonna be nice to me? Like me and my wife, we don't argue. Do we have disagreements? Yes. Do she always see eye to eye? No. Do I see eye to
Mhm.
eye with her? No. But you know what? And I say this to people most of the time, well, all the time. I say, listen, the reason why we don't argue. Some people say, I'm sorry, I gotta say this. Some people say it's healthy to argue. No, guess what? No, guess what? If you have a disagreement, you talk about it, and if it's not going, you come back to it. And guess what?
Mhm.
We come back with a clear mind, and we have a conversation. We don't argue. We
Mhm.
don't yell at each other. I don't curse. She don't curse. So it's not even in our DNA. But at the end of the day,
Don't call names.
no,
No
we don't
name
do none of that.
calling.
No,
No.
that hurts feelings. That's not who Christ is. He don't hurt your feelings. We don't even hit below the belt. Neither one of us. It's like I would say, I don't feel like talking about this right now. And she'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But she'll say, we going to come back to it. And I said, all right,
Mhm.
today I don't want to. Some people say, oh, don't go to bed mad. I never go to bed mad. I'm not perfect. I said, listen, I understand that stress can kill you. I
Mhm.
understand that if you allow something to attack you that much, it can be harmful to you. So I just don't. I'll be like, listen, babe, I don't want to talk about it right now. We talk about it tomorrow. And look,
Mhm.
6 years in, we have had some disagreements and no arguments. And I would
Yeah,
tell people, good.
we've had moments where, yeah, we step away and we don't wanna talk about it because it gets us riled up. I'm not mad at him. I'm frustrated that we're not on the same page, but I'm not mad at him. So that's, I think, when I say don't go to bed angry, that's what I mean. I don't mean you've got to fix it all tonight. You know what I mean? You don't have to fix it all tonight, but you ensure that you are not holding ill feelings towards your spouse before you go to bed. And the reason I think that should be is because you never know if God's going to bless you with another day. And you really don't want to leave your relationship in a way that you're going to regret, because anger is in the moment. It's not lifetime. And you will regret it if you go to bed angry. But in regards to what you were saying, that you come back to it and you don't argue, even though people say it's healthy, you have discussions. Um, the goal in marriage, the reason why that even came about, that term, it's healthy to argue, is because what they really meant is it's important and it's healthy to bring out those issues and have conversations about them. We're not talking about down, drag out, we're going to yell at each other. That's not healthy. That's not stability. And that can create more trauma in your relationship. So you need to have in mind every single time you have a disagreement what your goal is. And if you need to state the goal here is to have a healthy marriage and for us to come to terms, even if it's meeting halfway. But both of you should have that goal. You're not fighting against each other. You're fighting for your marriage. You're fighting for one another. Oh, you good?
Oh,
went down the wrong pipe.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've done that.
Oh.
You need a minute?
All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Ooh.
That's all right.
Ooh.
So
Okay, I'm good.
that's what I mean. You need to have the same mindset, same goals. You're not there to hurt each other and you're not there to win. You're there to ensure that you're making sure that your marriage is secure, healthy, and that there's always love in it. And you're fighting to compromise. You're fighting to figure out what the issue is, because you never want to fight one another.
I just want to add to this, to prepare for marriage.
Yeah.
So for the young generation, the first thing is going to be the difficult thing for them is to practicing purity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is hard to do in this just new generation because they think sex is, just for pleasure at the time, right? So you got to understand that practicing purity is important, and as you get older, practicing purity is important too, because guess what? You know what? God just put this in my spirit. When you practice that, you begin to learn how to be disciplined. And discipline is something that is a struggle for people. Being disciplined and being obedient. And some people misuse the word obedient. Obedient is not a word to just be like for leadership, dictatorship. No, obedience said, listen, this is the law. I have to abide by the law. I have to abide by the word of God. You have to abide by it, and it tells you that. And so, these are the difficult things that is more important than anything: discipline and obedience. And the reason why I say that is because guess what? You have to be a good steward of the things that God has given you. So God has blessed you with so much, and you have to be disciplined with the things you have. See, like I'm real transparent on my show, and the one thing I can say to you is that for the men that are looking to get married is that, listen, you have to be a good steward of your finance. Being good steward of your finances is important because guess what? You have to provide for your family at all cost. That is part of your protection for your family, having a roof over
Yes.
their head, clothing on their back. Even if they had to go to private school, it's your duty, it's your job to do that as well. As because when you do all those things and you have the right woman for you, guess what? She'll do everything for you. She'll love you.
Mhm.
She'll cook for you, clean for you, everything that she needs to do to make you happy. She'll be doing that. And that's why it's God says being a good steward of the things he has given you. And that's part of looking to be a husband. You have to be a good steward because finance is something that can ruin your marriage. It can
Mhm.
ruin your relationship because you're not being a good steward of that. And so that is the most important thing too, as well as going into a marriage, being a good steward. Because guess what? In being a being a good steward, you know how to manage, not just finance. You know how to manage. Just
Mhm.
being a good manager. Watch this. Being a good manager of your time, manager of your prayer life, but
Mhm.
being a good manager of when you working, how you manage your time at work, how do you navigate with that, and that's the part about being a good steward. That is part of it. And God requires us to be a good steward. Look, I'm a big spender. My wife, she be like, "Oh my goodness," and but guess what? I'm transparent, and guess what? I had to work at a new relief, being a good steward of my money. I spent money because I have a great career, great job. So I just spend, spend, spend. My wife's like,
Mhm.
oh no, you can't do that. You gotta save, save, save. My wife is a penny pincher. But that is a good thing. But guess what? We work in it. Look, that's working towards marriage. That's why I'm giving that advice because you have to be a good steward of
Yeah.
your finance. If I didn't have, let's imagine, if I didn't have this job that I had, this career that I had, my own business, guess what? I'm be honest, we probably would be divorced because that's what finance does. It will ruin your marriage. And that's why key thing is being a good steward of your money, not just your money, your time, because people will distract you and pull you away from what God has for you. That's why God has to be the center of your direction going into a
Mhm.
marriage. If you don't have that, I'm pretty sure there are some people who don't have a relationship with God that have it may seem like they have a good marriage. Let's say they have a good marriage. But guess what? You can have a better marriage with
Mhm.
Christ being the center of it. Because there are some
Mhm.
marriages that have good it looks good, but guess what? Where are their soul going? Where is that going? You got all the money in the world. Y'all look good, but guess what? What other things that you struggle with that maybe the world don't know? I can
Mhm.
guarantee you can have all the money in the world, but your soul is lost. That don't mean
Yeah.
anything. That's why I will keep on saying it. Christ has to be the center. You Cause things are going on in your life. You wonder why they're going. No Christ. No Christ. I tell people this all the time. Yes, it is tough being a believer, being a Christian, because guess what? It's a daily battle.
Mhm.
Daily. You got to battle with so much because guess what? There are things that are evolving, and then you might look and say, "Oh, I like that," but guess what? It becomes a distraction if it's not in the alignment of God.
Mhm.
It becomes a distraction, and if it becomes a distraction, guess what? Now you moving off the line of the divine connection that God has for you, and you got to focus. I tell them when I'm at the men's fellowship, and I tell them, listen, that is also important. The gathering of men together, you got to get together.
Mhm.
So it says, iron sharpens iron. So that's what we're supposed to do. Having the right circle around you, the supporting cast, outside of looking for that woman, because guess what? They're going to be right there to help you, and that and the, You want to have a successful choice of women. Guess what? You have to be in the right places so you can find the woman that you want. Come on,
Yeah,
we ain't
don't think you're gonna find a godly woman and you're at the strip club.
no,
Like, or go to a bar and you think your wife's gonna be there and she's gonna be godly, or
no.
to the club. These aren't the places that you go. And honestly, if I were you, I would stay off the apps. I found my husband on the app. That just was one in a million that it actually works out and that we're both Christ centered. There are Christian apps out there, so maybe those, but like Tinder, those kind of things, that's for hookup culture. Stay off of those if you want somebody to pursue you or for you to pursue them in a godly way. Um, so definitely be mindful of where are you at, where are you spending your time? Because what your surroundings are tells you a lot about a person. So if that woman's in church and that's where you met, that tells you a lot about that person. Um, if she's at a coffee shop and not at a club, like these little places do matter where you meet.
Of course. You know what? There are so many things. That's one of our friends. We laugh about it, and he said, "Oh, you got to go to church to find a wife." I said, "No, you really don't." But there are
Mm-hmm.
other things, other functions that
Mm-hmm.
are affiliated with the word of God. Like you can go to revivals, you can go to Bible studies, you can go
Yes.
to other churches that like your home church visits another church. And guess what? You guys are at a revival and it's somewhere you have to travel. You can meet your wife there. It
Yeah,
doesn't
are you looking for a woman that is trying to better herself and is motivated to do so? Go to one of those like TED Talks or a speaking event that resonates with you and mingle with the people there. You may find your wife in that setting and she just so happens to have the same goals as you. So you
exactly.
really want to look at where you're at.
Exactly. That's how you're going to meet them. Like you said earlier, I met my wife through a Christian app as well, but
Yes.
I had some bad experience with it too now. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, I almost gave up. But like I said, it was the divine connection with me and my wife. You know what I'm saying? She
Mhm.
was perfect for me because I'm still like I said, I'm a people's person. I have a lot of
Mhm.
people I talk with, mingle with. And to be honest with you, some of them are not Christians. I always talk to them time to time. I don't like, oh, you got this. No, I don't do that. Guess what? They see me for who I am. I see them and I always encourage them. And because guess what? I allow God to use me to encourage them. In no shape or form, not ever look at them and judge them. And see,
Mhm.
and guess what? That's my opportunity. I got this young man at my job, and when I tell you he don't believe in, he's married. He don't believe in God, but I do not constantly like, when the time is right, we talk about it. And I tell him,
Mhm.
I say, yo, this is something different. You're gonna see life going to be different for you. Your heart is going to change.
Your
And
outlook changes.
everything. And you guess what?
Yeah.
You're gonna love more. You wonder why I'm always hugging. I'm always like,
Mhm.
oh, give me a hug. And they can feel the love that I have for them. You know why? Because they feel
Mhm.
it. They say, you know what? Chef is he on the money, man. I like him because of my spirit, because of the way I
Mhm.
carry myself. And so
Mhm.
time after time, that's what I do. And that is part of your journey on going towards marriage. Is that is the key thing. I'm gonna keep on stressing that. It's the relationship. The relationship. Guess what? Can it be intimate? You got to have the intimacy because guess what? When you by yourself and you praying, guess what? God hear you. It's just you and him. He hears you.
Mhm.
He hears your heart, not the words that is coming out your mouth, but your heart. Are you
Mhm.
ready? You got to be prepared and ready for marriage. And how do we do
Mhm.
that? Like I always say, and I'm going to keep on saying, the the direction you have to have is listening and obeying God. That's
Mhm.
that's key. That's the and some people are like, well, you know what? I'm not gonna live for God right now. I'm gonna find me a wife. Okay, you can. Guess what?
Mhm.
How is that marriage going to be? You wanna ask people that have successful marriages? I guarantee you, most of the time, they are living for God. They're living
Mhm.
for God, and I'm talking about solely. They're not just pretending. They're really living for God. And guess what? They've been married for a long time. A long
That doesn't
time.
mean they don't go through it.
Of
Listen, there's
course.
ups and downs in marriages. It's not perfection. It is a constant realization that I'm not going to be the same person in 10 years, and neither are you, but I'm choosing you. I want to grow with you. So I'm going to continue to foster an intimate relationship with you and ensure that we are always growing together. So even through those ups and downs, you need to know that that covenant you made, that's an agreement. That's a divine agreement that you made. And you are stating before God, I choose to love this person, because love is not a feeling. Love is an action.
Oh,
You
yes,
have to put that love in action every day.
definitely. It. I was sitting here and I was listening to you, right? And just think about it. You wanna you want to be with a person you can trust. You can walk beside them and not worry about what they may do or what they may not do. That's
Mhm.
big. And so just imagine, I said, good steward of the things that God has given you. If God has given you a beautiful wife, you have to know how to take care of her. And it's
Yes.
not it's not about this, it's not about the money. It's emotional too. You have to care enough for her heart.
You
That's
do. And I kind of want to use this moment to guide some of our viewers, because we have this mainstream view of Christian marriages and it's not accurate. Here's what I mean by that. Lots and lots of old school men, and I am going to say men because it is the man. They feel because God said, made Eve second, and said she is supposed to submit to her husband and that she's supposed to be his helper, that she is less than him.
who
I
oh
need,
whoa
yeah,
whoa
that
whoa whoa.
she does not have as much value. She doesn't have as much say. If he says something, it's the final word. In the Bible, Genesis, when he says helper, if you take it back to the original meeting, it says Ezer Kenegdo. God uses that 22 times in the Bible to reference himself. When he said he was going to help Israel, he said Ezer. So what that really means is it means aid, and it means helping him where he can't help himself. So God holds us to the same value, men and women. You need to know that your wife is not subservient to you. She will automatically submit to your ways if you are the right type of leader. That means that you love her like Christ loved the church. He sacrificed himself. You need to sacrifice yourself for your wife and love her with, what's the word? With patience, with kindness. Like, you need to be respectful of what she has to say and take it into account and see maybe she's being more wise than you. Don't let your pride get in the way of your relationship. Love your wife. Truly love her. This isn't an like a she's not there to sit there and make you food and take care of the kids and do this, that, and the other. You guys have to be equal partners in your house if you want that house built on a solid foundation. So know that that shouldn't be your view. Now, if you find someone that that's their view and your view aligns, I'm not here to judge you, but if you want someone that's an equal partner that's going to make you stronger, that's going to challenge you, that's going to want the best out of you, which you should, then you're going to want a strong partner. But if she sees leadership in you and she knows God's word, she's going to submit to you. She's going to allow you to lead. Does that make sense?
Oh, for me, yes. But I was waiting till you finished. I was gonna say, wait a minute. No, I don't know what knowledge or what book they get it from, but let me tell you something. Two
Mm-hmm.
brains always work better than one.
Mm-hmm.
Four hands always work better than two. So
Yeah.
when you work together in every level of life, you come out on top. So if you
Yes.
going against one another, guess what? You're not going to succeed. And so guess what? When you have four hands, you got four eyes, two brains, that's more than one. So when you talk about when you look at the word help me, guess what? Guess what? You got two working together. And when you
Mm-hmm.
got two people working together, you're more stronger. Your foundation is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And submission is to both the man and the woman. You
Yes.
have to submit to one another, and that's part of going together. It's a journey that you are together. Guess what? When you walk down the street, guess what? Your wife is on the side of you holding hands together. It's a journey together. And that's what it is, togetherness. And that's what makes it stronger. You working together. Guess what? You have to find the common ground so you can understand what it is that you guys are going to do. There is no, listen, the man may be the leader, but in leadership, guess what? You have to be humble. And that's key. That's a key component to being a leader. You have to be humble because guess what?
Yes.
You are not always going to be right. God will use your wife to tell you something that you cannot see. He said, listen,
Yes.
use her and say, babe, this is what you need to do, and
Yes.
vice versa. I mean, that's part of the help me because there are things that I have to make a decision, and my wife can come along and say, babe, I think if you do it like this with a calm voice and says, if
Mm-hmm.
you do it like this, I think, and see, women are special because guess what? The right woman would say, not if you do it like this. He said, babe, I think if you do it like this, we'll come out better. It'll be
Yes.
better and beneficial for us. See, that's the love that the woman has for her husband and her man is because guess what? She knows how to speak life into you and it will
Mm-hmm.
come through you. So
And
God will
she will treat you that way because you are treating her properly.
it's reciprocated.
Yes.
And so it comes out. And that's why, listen, when you study the word, you understand it. And so like I said, I'm a leader. I don't have to tell my wife that. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
get confirmation to her because guess what? I'm going to protect her. I'm her
Mm-hmm.
protector. And in that, guess what? That's why the things that I say, it cannot be hurtful.
Yep.
I have to say it in a way that she receive it in
Mm-hmm.
love, receive
Yes.
it through God. And
Yep.
God is using me to lead. And guess what? I have to, if God is going to use me to lead my wife and my kids, guess what? I have to know how to say it. My delivery is the most important because guess what? If I'm yelling at them and I'm cursing, I'm doing all this, they're not going to receive it. But if I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it in love and they receive it in truth, guess what? They receive it better because I'm delicate with it. I'm gentle with it, gentle in the point of me saying to them where they can understand it and receive it, and
Wouldn't
that's
you wouldn't you rather your children and your wife do things out of love for you, out of admiration for you, instead of out of fear for the consequences of what you might do?
yes,
That's respect. That's not fear. But if you're one of those that you're like a dictator in your home because you were told you were the leader and you're not humble, you're getting fear, you're not getting respect.
and you know what, Amber, any man, any man that says to his wife he is the head, he has to rethink, he has to reorder his steps because you know what, you do not need validation to say I'm the leader, I'm the
Mhm.
head of this household. You don't have to say that.
No,
I,
your actions should say it.
that's it.
Your actions.
You I don't have to say that, you know. And my son, I talk to my son, and when I talk to him, I'm always listening to him because guess what? In listening, I understand him better.
Mhm.
And guess what? I always allow him to come to me for advice because he sees that I'm going to give him the best advice I'm supposed to give him.
Mhm.
Not how I feel. I want to give him direction because it's coming from God. And so my
Yes.
son is he's in college, he's getting ready to graduate, he's top of his class, he's doing excellent, right? And it's not and I'm gonna show you why I say this because he's young. He is living in the young generation and trying to look and find the right one for him. So when he get out of college, he'll have the right person. They're gonna grow together. So
Mhm.
that's why it's important for your children to see that in you, the leadership, to see that what this is a great man. I want to be like him as I get older and have my own marriage or my own
Mhm.
wife. And that's the key to it. And that's why I always say the direction has to come from God.
Yes.
Without that, you're lost. Without having that direction, trust me, you may seem like it's all successful, but I guarantee you, when times get rough, that's when you're gonna need them the most,
Mhm.
and you don't have
Mhm.
them. If you don't have them, guess what? You just move. You just living. I was on a podcast, and the podcast title was "Time is Ticking." Are you living or you are existing?
Mhm.
And so I said, I'm living and existing. Why? I'm living because I'm living for God, but I'm existing for God as well. I'm not
Mhm.
just living in life just to be living. I'm living Him, discipleship, kingdom building, and so I exist for Christ. He's using me as the vessel. My body is the vessel that He's using. I'm doing it freely. I want to live for Him. There's nothing that I'm supposed to fear not. Know that I am God. So in my direction, I say, God, lead me to the places you need me to go. Lead me to the people that I need to speak to.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. It's just like me and you. Look, it's a divine connection because guess what? I say, God, send the people that I need to connect with because I don't want to just
Mhm.
connect with just anybody. Lord, if the mission is you and your kingdom, send me to the right people.
Yeah.
Send the right
Yeah.
people because guess what? I can't do it. That's out of my control. I can go out there and say, I want you to come on my podcast. But guess what? They might not be ready. They might not be qualified
Mhm.
to speak for him. We are. We're living. We're living for
Mhm.
Christ. And we're doing it openly and proudly. And we understand that guess what? In this walk, there are going to be people that's not going to like us. We
Oh,
understand that.
yeah.
We got that. We know. And guess what? We still walking. We still walking in love. Still walking in peace, joy. We're doing it.
Yeah. So we can basically say to prepare for marriage, you need to foster your relationship with Christ first, first and foremost. First and foremost. Secondly, you definitely want to pay attention with who you surround yourself with. Make sure that you have the right community. Thirdly, you need to ask God to prepare you to be the man who deserves the wife that you want. That's going to take some growth and some self realization about who you are, what trauma you need to deal with, and what trauma you need to heal. Um, so, do you have anything else to prepare for marriage that you would state?
The 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 key things is okay. We talk about stewardship. We talk about finance. We talk about
Mm-hmm.
having a good relationship with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
But the foundation is having the relationship with Christ. And if you don't have a relationship, learn how to get one. That's
Yes.
part of
Yes.
praying and find the right place to worship, pray. You got to find a house of praise, house of worship, wherever it is, wherever you live at. These are the
Mhm.
things you have to do, because guess what? You'll hear God, and God is the shepherd. And how
Mhm.
do the shepherd know the sheep, and the sheep
Mhm.
knows the shepherd, and the voice of God you will
Mhm.
understand and hear it. And so the relationship, and then also, if you have any traumas or any hurt and pain, learn how to heal. And in learning how to heal is receiving Christ. You have to learn how to die daily. And some people don't understand what that means. That means, your old ways, you have to put aside. You have to get rid of them. You have to wring out all
Mhm.
of the sins. We're going to sin. Listen, it's not going to be easy. It's not a perfect life. We all
No.
sinners. We all are sinners.
Yes. Yes.
All of us. And
Yep.
we are not perfect. And that's the
Mm-mm.
part about wringing it out daily, getting it out and say, Lord, forgive me. Listen, Lord, I ask you to guide my steps, order my steps, be my mouthpiece.
Mhm.
Be my mouthpiece. And guess what? And God will start to work on you. And so what I'm leaving you with is working on your heart. Your heart
Yes.
is your posture. I say your heart
Mhm.
is your posture because guess what? The things that you watch, the things that you listen to, it feeds your soul, it feeds your heart. And guess what? It begins a new desire. And when you have a desire to live for God, guess what? You see things differently. Your
Yes, you
heart
do.
is different. It's
Mhm.
not the same anymore. Things
Yep.
don't get you upset.
Mhm.
You don't get mad easily. You'll be like, you know what, Lord, just have your way. Let it be done. Lord,
Mhm.
you deal with that. I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's the part, I'm stressing for people is that work on your heart. And that
Mhm.
and you got to cleanse yourself, constantly cleansing yourself. And that requires allowing the right people to be around you.
Mhm.
There's a song that says, Lord, build a fence around me. So and in that song, it's saying build a fence around me, and that's your hedge of protection. The
Mhm.
people around you become your protection as well as God. God will put that hedge of protection around you,
Yes.
so you won't be easily shaken. You won't be easily distracted because you have that protection around you. The people around you, always encouraging you, pouring into your life, as well as you
Mhm.
reciprocating and pouring into their life.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
adding value to their life, and they're adding. You're not taking anything. I've never said take. That's a
Yeah,
that's a
this isn't one of those that you do something quid pro quo. We're not looking to gain something off of someone else when we do things. You do it out of the grace that God has given you, and you mirror that.
that and it's a reciprocate. It's something that it comes back to you. What you do in the atmosphere, it comes back to you.
Oh, it
All the
absolutely
love that
does.
you give and you pouring out into
Yes.
people, guess what?
Yes.
They will pour back into you. Not It don't have to be those people that you're pouring into.
Right.
Somebody else
Right.
will pour into you. And so when you doing that, guess what? You're doing it with a loving heart and an unconditional, it comes back to you. It's like
Yes.
it's like a magnet. It's going to draw to you. It's going to gravitate to you. It's going to be like, oh
Mhm.
man, this Amber Dennis is always happy, always smiling. Why are you always smiling?
Mhm.
And you begin to tell them, this is why I'm happy. This is what brings me joy. Just living for God. They said, man, you smile too much. Listen, this is my heart. I don't want to look mad. I don't want to look
Mhm.
sad. Even when the times are rough.
Yeah.
I always, death is something that most people have a problem with, and it's difficult with them. But you know what? Death is a part of life. You have to understand that it's nothing in this life that God does not allow, and it does not serve a purpose. Everything that happens in this life, whether it's politics, whatever it is, there is a purpose for it to be done. And God is the author of it. He's Alpha
Mhm.
Omega. He does not let anything happen that's not supposed to happen. Understand that. God is the author. And guess what? When you understand that, you understand there's a purpose in everything,
Mm-hmm.
good and bad.
Yeah.
Purpose. And what that purpose is, it's up to you to allow God to reveal that to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to allow God to reveal it to you. And if you allow God to reveal it to you, guess what? You'll say, Lord, thank you for revealing it to me because I understand it now. I understand why you allow me to go through that. I understand why you took me through the storm and brought me out because now I can see clearly. I can
And this
hear
is
you
a
clearly.
good spot. This is a good spot because you're talking about God allowing things for a reason, for a purpose. If you ask God, and we're talking about preparing men for marriage, if you ask God to bring someone into your life at the time that you need them, and He brings you someone and that doesn't last, and it was only for a season, God knew that. And He was preparing you for who He really does have for you. He's bringing that person in to teach you and to get your heart ready for who He has for you. So always know there's always a purpose. You have to trust God, but be very careful. Don't think just because they came along that you should give them access to you. You need to have that heart of discernment, that's that spirit of discernment to know who's right for you. So I think that the prayers should be prayed if that's where your mindset is. If you're ready to start pursuing marriage, get your mind right, get your relationship with Christ right, and pray the prayer specifically for the Lord to hide you until He has made the heart of the person and your own heart ready to meet the person He has for you. And then He'll bring that person along. Now, if you feel that you're ready, state, God, I hope you're preparing their hearts as you prepare mine, and just make a way, have that person come into my life. Like, pray these prayers. God hears you and He's going to make it happen.
Let me,
There is a purpose.
Emma, let me ask you a question. What do you think is this? If you had a choice for the men to answer this question, what do you think is more important? To say, God, bring the wife to me that is supposed to be for me, or Lord, order my steps.
I would
What's
say order my steps
and
would be the
yes,
most important.
because guess what? When you allow God to order your steps, right? He is the head of your direction, and you allow him to lead you to the places that you need to go. And guess
I
what?
like that.
When you allow him to do that, I guarantee you, I 100%. When you allow him to do that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he, because guess what? He knows your heart already. He
Mm-hmm.
say you are ready, and he will lead you to a place where your wife will be there. And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? You'll get into a conversation, and right then and there, you'll get confirmation this is your wife.
Yep.
This is the woman for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
guess what? There is something in her life that God will say to her, go and talk to Chef Dennis. I'm married. I'm using me because
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know, go and speak to him. Your conversation would be so perfect and nice. And guess what? She'll begin to tell you what God told her, and then you'll say the thing, and you'll know right then and there that's nothing but God because God ordered it. God said, this is who is meant for you. And when
Yes.
you allow God to do that, I guarantee you, in that journey, He will lead you to the person you need to be because He's already there for you. God is already pruning her and getting her ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's another question for you. Do you think for a man and a woman, there are multiple persons for you? Or you think it's only one person that's made for you?
I think there's only one person made for you, but I think that God puts people in your life to prepare you. There's something that you need to go through, and it could be because you're not in obedience with God, and that trial and tribulation of going through it with this particular person is going to make you obedient to God. Like
So,
He's going to guide your steps after that. So I think that there's only one person that's truly made for you if you're in obedience to God. But when you're not in obedience to God, He can bring other people into your life for a season just to prepare you under fire and prepare your heart to be ready for your spouse.
So there are some believers that did not marry their soulmate, but they married a person that
I
is
am one of them.
okay. So there is, you do have more. You do have another person that's out there in the world that could have been your husband,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I
Mm-hmm.
asked you that question, because sometimes God still, there's, listen, there are more women in the world than men,
Mm-hmm.
and you, sometimes we don't marry our soulmate, but
Mm-hmm.
we marry a person that is right for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we, everybody has a soulmate, a soul, that's, that person is strictly just for you. But then there are some people that we marry, or couples that marry a person that's not their soulmate, but guess what? They are a divine connection that God allowed them to be together because they were right for each other. They were right for each other. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of the marriages back in the day. You see them been married for 30, 40 years, right? And you be like, well, how did y'all do it? Oh, we endured. But they might have endured, but that doesn't mean that they were meant for each other. They just endured. They just went through it. You know, some people go through a marriage and say, you know what, I'm not going to divorce because they don't believe in divorce. And that's okay. But that doesn't mean that that person was meant for you. They just
So
endured.
So you have a different view. I don't believe in soulmates. Here's why.
Okay.
Um, I don't believe in them because we have free will. Yes, God is divine, and I'm not going to try and understand how He knows, but He knows what's going to happen. But I think that we have free will, and that guides our trajectory. If I turn and I start believing in Christ because of the things I went through,
Mm-hmm.
or for whatever reason, then the person that I'm going to be with may be a Christ follower as well. But if I had a lot of trauma in my life and I chose not to use that for good and I veer away from God, then that person that I'll end up with may not be a Christ follower. I think that there aren't soulmates. I think that God, if you are truly in relationship with God and you ask Him to bring you someone that is meant for you, He's bringing you someone that you're going to build with. You both are going to learn together. They're going to bring out the best in you. And I think that it's because you're in obedience with God that He allows that person to be ready for you as well. So I think the people we end up with really have a lot to do with the decisions we've made in life, what we've been through, our past traumas, and they're a portion of our life because God's preparing our heart in a way that He needs us to be. If I didn't go through the marriage I went through prior to this one, I wouldn't know what real love was. I'm here with this man and I love him to the depths of my soul. But I also have made it where together we have a Christ centered marriage. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't experience the marriage I did before without him. I think that it's in preparation for what God has for your life. If He's calling you to be something great, He's going to allow someone in your life to prepare your heart for that, to put you through certain trials, to prepare you for what He's going to call on you later. So that's why I don't believe in soulmates. I think that it depends on your steps in life.
Oh, I, I'm in
But
agreement.
everyone believes differently. I'm not
Yes.
calling you wrong.
No, I know I'm in agreement with you. I'm in agreement with you. I'm not, there's no right or wrong, you know. This, so I'm in agreement with you.
It's a beautiful notionality, though,
Yeah.
honestly. Thinking that there's a soulmate for me. You know what I mean? Like I like the idea, but the things I've been through I don't believe in it. Um, but I know that there are people out there that do believe there is a soulmate. There's someone that's meant for them, and they were always meant for each other.
Yes.
I think that when you're ready for a relationship, you get the person that's prepared for where you're at now to prepare you for where God wants you to be. Just my opinion.
Nope.
Maybe wrong. I'm sure
No,
I'm going to
no,
get some hate. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate.
no, no, no. Can't nobody hate that. That's perfect. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's all about perception and understanding. So if there's in this walk, there is no right and wrong. Right and wrong. It's about direction.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it leading you? How is it guiding you? We're trying to encourage people to get and guide them in the right direction, and that's what we're doing. We're not trying to persuade anyone. We want them, if you're preparing yourself for marriage, these are the things and the topics that we're talking about, is to encourage you so you can have and prepare for a successful marriage,
Yes.
a successful relationship with that significant other. And
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely talking about having that. And the number one thing is having that clear understanding in a relationship and that intimacy with Christ. And
Yes.
that's the start of it. And when you have that, you have direction. And when you have
Mm-hmm.
direction, you have obedience and you have discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
discipline is something that you will need in a successful marriage, as well
Yes.
as obedience. And I'm not talking about, man, your woman has to be obedient to you. No, obedient to God's word, his
Yes.
direction for you as the husband, and how you going to treat your wife and your children if you guys have
Mm-hmm.
children. That's
Yes.
key. Learning how, because guess what? Everybody wasn't born to be a parent. Sometimes we
Right.
made unwise decisions, and we had children before we supposed to, and now we have to learn how to be a parent based on what our parents did for us or how we saw our parents raise us. So now we have to be a parent before our time. And so that's part of having that relationship with Christ, learning
Mm-hmm.
how to be a parent as
Well,
well as a
listen,
husband.
I think this was a really good episode, a really good information. You did quite well in explaining what men should be doing to prepare for marriage. Is if there's anything that you could say to them that you haven't, what is one piece of advice that you would give someone that is like, man, I really want to be married, but I want to do it the right way?
The one thing I would say is that before you decide to marry a person, a woman,
Mm-hmm.
um, work on your relationship with God. But, you know, crying is part of that, because guess what? We all been hurt. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes men don't know how to do that. And it's the vulnerability part about crying or opening up to the right person for you. And that's one thing I would say, because most men don't do that. You
Mm-hmm.
have, not only that, you got to take care of yourself before
Mm-hmm.
you learn how to take care of somebody else. Make sure you know how to take care of you first. And I'm not
Yes.
saying take care of you first in a selfish way. Make sure
Right.
you taking care of yourself physically and mentally.
Yes.
Knowing how to do that is important. And when you do that, guess what? You'll be ready and prepared to
Mm-hmm.
love on someone else, and
Yeah.
and have an unconditional loving heart. And that's
Yeah.
part of the relationship. I'm gonna keep on saying that. That's the most important thing to start on a relationship, or looking to be married, is your relationship with Christ. No,
Mm-hmm.
nothing else is more important than that. That is the most important thing. Having that relationship, because God is going to guide you. He's going to guide you in the tough times. He's going to guide you in the perfect times. He's going to guide you and order your steps.
Mm-hmm.
Allow him to be your mouthpiece, because he'll teach you how to say things that no one else can teach you but him.
Mm-hmm. For the
And I'm gonna leave you with that.
glorifying of him. Yeah, I like it. So for our listeners to close out, thank you for being on. First off, Dennis, that was really, really good. I enjoyed it. But for our listeners, we talked about trauma. So I'm going to do this. I created a 20-day trauma workbook. It's called Transformation from Your Trauma, and it's psychology based and biblically based. I have it on sale, but for the listeners of this podcast, if you go to boundbygracepodcast.com and go to the contact page, reach out to me through there and say, I was listening to your podcast with Dennis, and I would like the transformation from your trauma workbook. I will send that to you for free. But I ask, if you do ask for that workbook for free, all I ask is that you give me some feedback on it. I want to know if it helped you. I want to know if you think some things just didn't resonate with you and need to be changed. But I'm looking for feedback on that, and I would love for you guys to try that. I think it's going to be very transformative. All right. Thank you so much for being on, and to all of our listeners for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone. And again, if you want that trauma workbook, go to boundgracepodcast.com, go to the contact us page, state that you saw this podcast and that you want that trauma book for free. And I will send it to you. All right. Thank you so much again. And you guys have a wonderful day.